Part 1. The Rules on the Wall-Framed Series. 7 Rules in the Cafeteria, Break 1. And it finds you at Clearwater High. The cafeteria smelled like reheated pizza and bleach, just like every other high school in America. Students shuffled in with the same slouch, the same noise, the same rhythm of trays and laughter and phones buzzing in pockets. But that Tuesday, around 12:14 p.m., something shifted. Not a big shift, just a hairline crack in the pattern. Jamie noticed it first. She wasn't trying to be observant. She was new just 3 weeks into her transfer from Oregon. She ate alone most days, earbuds in, sketchbook open. She liked to sit near the back of the cafeteria, where the long table legs were a little bent, and the lights flickered just enough to keep people away. That's when she saw it. A plaque, old, yellowed like a forgotten tea bag, tucked between a dusty vent and a metal pipe. It looked more like an emergency notice than decoration. Most students walked right past it every day and never glanced. But Jamie squinted. There was texts, small and crooked, onto the plate. Cafeteria conduct, rules to follow. Never sit in the third chair of row A. At exactly 12:17 p.m., don't look at your reflection in the vending machine glass. After 12:30, finish all of your food, especially the peas. If a lunch tray is already placed at your usual spot, do not sit there. Do not accept milk cartons without labels. If someone sits beside you and doesn't blink, leave immediately. If you hear humming from the kitchen but no one is inside, cover your ears. Don't listen. She blinked. Was it a joke? It had to be. Jamie took out her phone and snapped a picture. Her lunch tray sat untouched. Today's meal was something pale and rubbery, pretending to be chicken. She glanced at row, a third chair. A senior named Daniel had just dropped his bag beside it. He wasn't looking at clocks or rules, he was texting. The bell rang. Jam 12:17. Daniel said, "Nothing happened. Not right." Away, Jamie leaned back, waiting for the punchline. Maybe it was part of a hazing tradition, a scare tactic. Small-town kids could be weird like that. But she watched the clock, then watched Daniel, and then Daniel froze. He stiffened like someone had poured cold water down his back. His hands twitched. He stood up, but not all the way, and then dropped his phone. No one at the table seemed to notice, not even his friends. He walked, not ran, toward the cafeteria's back door, the one that led to the mop closet and staff break room. Jamie frowned. "Hey," she whispered to herself, standing. She glanced around. No teachers watching. She followed. She didn't go far, just far enough to see the heavy grey door swing open and not shut. Daniel never came back. When lunch ended, Jamie walked back to her table. His phone was still there by 7th period. Everyone acted like he hadn't even been at school that day, that night. Jamie messaged Alex, one of the few friends she'd made, a sophomore. Always wore band hoodies, lived on Red Bull and conspiracy theories. "Hey," she texted. "Did you see what happened with Daniel at lunch?" 10 minutes passed, then a reply. "Daniel? Which one?" "The one with curly hair, black hoodie. Always eats grilled cheese." "Oh, you mean Tyler?" Jamie stared at the screen. No, she knew what she saw. His name tag said Daniel. His tray, his phone, his seat. No, Daniel sat in row, a third seat. The typing dots appeared, then vanished, then came back. "Jamie, there's no Daniel in our grade." The next morning, she checked the attendance board near the office. No Daniel, no absences, nothing but his phone. Still sat on the lost and found shelf, screen cracked, wallpaper. A photo of the row, a lunch table. Jamie went back to the cafeteria early. Before the lunch rush, she walked to the plaque. It hadn't changed. 7 rules, same wording, same creepy chill when she looked at them. She touched the corner of the metal plate. It felt warm. Then she noticed something new. A smear across the bottom right corner. A fingerprint, not hers. The bell rang again. Lunch. Jamie didn't sit in row A that day, or the next. But she watched, and others did. Some students laughed and joked and broke the rules on purpose. But every few days, someone just didn't come back. Jamie started keeping notes. A sketchbook filled with timestamps, seating charts, student names. She drew the plaque. Copied the rules. She tried Googling the school's history. Nothing except an old article about a fire in the kitchen. 1981. 3 students missing. Kitchen remodeled. Jamie's dreams began to change. She saw the cafeteria empty. All the chairs. Pulled out, a single milk carton sitting in front of her. Unmarked. Sweating in the flickering light. From behind the kitchen door. A low humming, like a lullaby sung through static. She always woke up before it reached the chorus. Then in Friday, someone broke rule #5.A. Freshman, skinny, always wore the same denim jacket. Jamie saw it. He opened a milk carton, no label. The next second, his eyes widened. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. He reached up, clawed at his throat. Then he vanished. Not metaphorically, not poetically. He literally wasn't there anymore. The milk carton rolled to the floor, still sealed. No one else looked. No one else noticed, except Jamie. And maybe something else, watching. Part 2. Do not look through the kitchen window from the series. 7 rules in the cafeteria. Break 1, and it finds you. There's something unnatural about school. Cafeterias at 10:57 a.m. before the first wave of lunch. Before the chaos. Everything's too clean, too quiet. The lights hum louder. The tile floors echo even the softest steps. And most of all, the kitchen curtain is always drawn. Jamie noticed that too, that faded red curtain, covering the small rectangular kitchen window, never fluttered, never moved, like it was stuck in time. Rule number 3 on the plaque said it clearly. If the kitchen curtain is drawn, do not look through it. It was the only rule that made no sense. No hint, no setup. Just a firm warning. No explanation until Josh Cooper broke it. Josh was the kind of sophomore who wore sunglasses indoors and called every adult boss. He played pranks, pulled fire alarms, and once climbed onto the gym roof just to moon the marching band. If anyone was going to poke the monster, it was him. Jamie didn't know him personally, just by reputation. Everyone did. It was Wednesday, Meatloaf Day, at 11:16 a.m., as trays clattered and laughter rose in waves. Josh walked to the back corner of the cafeteria, toward the kitchen. Someone had dared him. Jamie overheard it in passing. $5 if you peek behind it. 10 if you take a picture. Josh grinned like a shark. Watch this, he said, to no one in particular. He crept up to the kitchen window, pulled out his phone, lifted the curtain just an inch, then stopped, still, silent, no laughter, no panic. Just stillness. Jamie watched from her usual seat, her fork hovering over potatoes. It wasn't that he froze physically, he just didn't blink. not once. He stood there, hands still holding the curtain, phone slipping slowly from his fingers to the floor. Then he dropped the curtain, turned, and walked straight out of the cafeteria. Not fast, not scared, just like a puppet, with strings cut loose. That night, word got around. Josh went home sick. The school sent a generic message to parents, something about a fever, the kind of excuse people don't question. But Jamie did, because Josh's locker was empty the next day. Not just cleaned out, like it had never even existed. No books, no nameplate, no combination, lock, gone, erased. Jamie walked to the main office, using the excuse of needing schedule changes. She looked at the student directory posted outside the counselor's door. No, Josh Cooper. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through her photo app, found a picture she'd taken 2 days ago. Josh had been shouting across the room in the photo. 5 students. An empty space where Josh should have been. That night, Jamie stayed up, replaying cafeteria security footage she'd downloaded months ago, a backdoor her cousin helped her install during IT club. The Wednesday file, glitched. All static from 11:15 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. She froze the video at 11 hours 14 minutes and 59 seconds. You could see Josh strutting toward the curtain, at 11 hours 30 minutes and 1 second. The frame returned. Josh wasn't there anymore, but something else was in the final frozen frame. Just before the feed resumed, the curtain twitched. Just barely, like someone or something had moved away. Jamie zoomed in, and that's when she saw it. To faint, pale fingers curling round the edge of the curtain from the inside. She didn't sleep that night. The next morning, she arrived early, sat in her usual back table, notebook open, watching the curtain at exactly 10:59 a.m. It twitched at once, not from a breeze. There wasn't one. She stood and walked toward it. Slowly, her legs didn't feel like hers. Her breath caught in her chest, like it didn't want to be there anymore. She got close enough to see something strange. The bottom hem of the curtain had ash on it, not dust. Ash, burnt black specks, like someone had dragged it through a fire pit. She reached up, stopped, remembered rule number 3. If the kitchen curtain is drawn, do not look through it. She stepped back. The kitchen was silent, but there was a pressure, like something was watching her, right behind the glass, waiting at lunch. Jamie couldn't eat. She just stared at the plaque. The rules weren't just creepy, they were true, and someone or something was enforcing them. She pulled out her sketchbook, drew what she remembered seeing in the static frame, the hand, the fingers, the curtain. But the moment she finished, a single line appeared on the page. She hadn't drawn it. She blinked. Tiny block letters beneath her sketch. You were warned. Her fingers trembled. She flipped the page, blank, back again. The words were gone, but the memory remained. So did the smell, faint like smoke and old meat. She asked one teacher, Mr. Pennington, who had worked at Clearwater High since the 80s, "Do you remember anything about Josh Cooper?" "Josh who?" he asked. She repeated the name. Mr. Pennington scratched his head. "Sorry, doesn't ring a bell." She pressed harder. "Sir, did something ever happen in the kitchen?" He paused, suddenly stiff. "I don't know what you're talking about, but the kitchen is off limits. That's all you need to know." And with that, he walked off, faster than a man his age should have. That night, Jamie drew the curtain again. This time, she added the face. It wasn't detailed, just the impression of it, pale, eyeless, waiting when she looked away. The page twitched under her fingers. When she looked back, the eyes were open. Part 3, The Forbidden Table from the series. 7 rules in the cafeteria. Break 1, and it finds you. It was just a table, 4 legs, scratched surface, burn marks, so old they looked like bruises on oak skin. But even among the chaos of lunch, shouting, footsteps, chairs screeching against the floor, no one ever sat there. No one even looked at it, except Rachel. Jamie first noticed the table during her second week at Clearwater High. It sat tucked into the far west corner of the cafeteria, too close to the wall for comfort, like someone pushed it there to forget about it. Its wood was faded, chipped like it had been clawed, and even the janitors avoided sweeping beneath it. Above that corner was a rusted ceiling vent. It dripped. Sometimes no one complained, maybe because of rule number 6. Do not sit or lean on the table near the west wall. It was the most specific of the 7 rules. And somehow, the most quietly unnerving dot. Jamie had told Rachel about it during their whispered lunches together. Rachel, unlike Jamie, wasn't exactly rule-following material. She wore fingerless gloves to class and once got detention for climbing the auditorium curtains just to see if she could. So, of course, she laughed. A haunted table. Come on, Rachel said, rolling her eyes. What's it gonna do, give me a splinter? Jamie stared at her, unamused. I'm serious. You remember Josh and the curtain? Rachel paused then, lips slightly parted. Her bravado flickered. Yeah, okay. But still, a table. That was Monday. By Wednesday, Rachel touched it. It was supposed to be a joke. Jamie had just turned her back to dump her tray in those 5 seconds. Rachel slipped past a group of freshmen, made a beeline toward the west wall, and slapped both hands on the center of the table. Boom, rule broken. She grinned. Jamie's stomach dropped. Rachel, I'm fine, Rachel interrupted, backing away. See, no ghosts, no monsters, no kitchen demon mannequin thing like Josh got. Jamie stared at the marks on the table. There were new scratches, just below where Rachel had placed her palms, long, thin, still flaking with wood dust. Jamie didn't say a word, neither did Rachel. They walked away quickly. That night, Jamie woke to her phone vibrating on the nightstand. 1:44 a.m. It was a text from Rachel. I saw something in my dream. It was under the school. I was screaming, but I didn't have a mouth. Then, another, it had fingernails. Jamie. Not fingers, just nails. They dragged me. I couldn't stop them, Jamie replied immediately. It's just a dream. You're okay. It's just the table. Maybe it's some stress thing. Want me to come over? No answer. Thursday, Rachel looked like she hadn't slept. Her hoodie was zipped all the way to her chin. Her eyes were ringed with purple shadows. Jamie cornered her near the vending machines. You okay? Rachel's smile was shaky. Nightmare again. Same one. I don't think I even sleep anymore. I just wait. Jamie hesitated, then asked, have you tried saying sorry to the table? Rachel gave her a tired laugh. It's wood, not a cursed ex-boyfriend. Still, she didn't eat lunch. That day, just sat facing away from the west wall. Headphones in, fingers trembling. Friday morning, Rachel wasn't in home. Jamie assumed she'd just stayed home until second period, when Mr. Delaney called roll and paused after saying, "Rachel Simmons," then crossed it out. Without waiting, Jamie sat up straight. "Wait, she's here." Mr. Delaney looked confused. "Who?" "Rachel Simmons. She's my lab partner." He glanced at the list again. "I don't have a Rachel Simmons here, Jamie, but she was just, 'Are you feeling all right?'" Jamie didn't answer. Instead, she opened her notes app and searched for yesterday's texts. Gone, no chat, no history. She opened her camera roll. Nothing. Every photo where Rachel had once stood, smiled, eaten lunch, was now missing one person. Jamie sprinted to the cafeteria during break. The west wall table was still there, and now it had a single glove sitting on it, fingerless black dot. Jamie reached for it, then pulled back. Her hand tingled, like the air above the table was electric. She looked underneath. The scratches were deeper now, dozens of them, like something had been dragged backward, clawed at the floor, tried to hold on there. Just above one leg, something was carved, RS then. Below it, "I was here." Jamie choked back a sound, not quite a sob, something between a scream and a whisper. That night, Jamie dreamed of fingernails, too many to count, clicking, scraping, skittering through dark concrete halls. She walked the school in the dark, barefoot, alone. She passed lockers that oozed rust. Water dripped from ceilings. Then she found it. The table Rachel sat at it, smiling with broken lips. "I broke the rule," she whispered, "so now I stay." Jamie reached for her, but her hand passed right through. Then she woke, cold, sweating, with scratch marks on her forearm that hadn't been there before. She tried telling a counselor. The next day, Mrs. Thorne nodded gently, like listening to a child describe a fairy tale. "There is no Rachel Simmons in our system, Jamie, but I have her assignment from last week. We did it together. She used purple pen. She always used purple pen." The counselor smiled. "It's normal to feel overwhelmed. Would you like to talk to someone?" Jamie stood and walked out. She didn't eat lunch, and she never looked at that table again. But sometimes, when the cafeteria gets quiet and the students thin out, Jamie hears nails tapping on wood. Waiting. Part 4. The milk carton with no label from the series. 7 rules in the cafeteria, break 1. And it finds you there. Was always one left. Every lunch hour at Clearwater High. The students rush to the cafeteria like animals on instinct elbows. Bumping, trays, clattering, laughter sharp and high-pitched. By 12:45, the milk fridge was usually wiped out. Chocolate milk gone first, then vanilla, then the loaf-it. Always reluctantly. But one carton always remained. It didn't have a label, just plain white with no logo, no expiration date, no color at all, not even the red or blue dots you usually find stamped on school milk. It was slightly dented. Always, no matter the day, no matter how fresh the fridge was restocked. And it was warm, like it had been sitting out before someone tucked it in at the last second, hoping no one would notice. Rule number 4 on the cafeteria plaque read, "Never choose the unmarked milk, even if it's the last one." Jamie had read it twice now, 3 times after what happened to Rachel. She had started memorizing each rule like they were part of a twisted Bible, but she didn't think anyone else had noticed. Not really, until Zach took it. Zach didn't do it on purpose. He wasn't one of the thrill-seeking kids like Rachel had been. He was quiet, kept to himself, always doodling in the margins of his notebook. Tall, awkward posture, a slight twitch in his jaw when he was concentrating, The kind of kid who could vanish into a crowd even when sitting in the front row. That Tuesday, Jamie watched it unfold in real time. She was 3 kids behind Zach in line, tray in hand, eyes drifting toward the milk fridge, and there it was. The last one, white, dented. Unlabeled. Zach reached in and grabbed it without looking. Jamie's heart stopped, her lips parted. The words caught behind her teeth. She almost called out, almost told him to wait, to put it back, to not be stupid, but she dear in single quotes. She just watched at first. Nothing happened. Zach sat at his usual spot near the middle, under the fluorescent light that always flickered like a slow heartbeat. He ate his sandwich, chips, and finally opened the milk. The seal cracked like a whisper. Jamie watched as he took a sip, then another. His face didn't change. No reaction, no gag, no flinch. But Jamie noticed how he paused mid-chew, just for a second, like something had shifted behind his eyes. Then, the bell rang, the moment passed. Jamie exhaled. Maybe it was just regular milk, she told herself. Maybe rule number 4 was just an old prank, or a test, or some legacy tradition made to scare freshmen. She tried to believe that, until 3rd period, Mrs. Halstead was droning on about the Industrial Revolution. But Jamie wasn't listening. She kept sneaking glances at Zach, who sat 2 rows ahead. His pencil hovered over his notebook. UNMOVING. His head was slightly tilted, like he was listening, but not to the teacher. Jamie could just make out his lips, barely moving, murmuring no sound, just movement over and over. She leaned forward. Zach, he didn't flinch. Zach, hey, still nothing. Only that soft motion of his lips, like he was repeating something someone had told him, something he couldn't stop hearing. The whispering dot by 6th period. Zach had gone completely. Still, he didn't blink, didn't fidget, didn't breathe deeply. He just sat there, hands flat on his desk, back straight, eyes wide. Not in panic, not in fear, just focus. Jamie raised her hand. I think something's wrong with Zach. The teacher looked over. Zach, are you okay? Silence. Jamie stood up, walked closer, heart thudding. Zach didn't move. His eyes weren't focused anymore. They weren't looking at anything. They were listening. She was sure of it, like something was speaking to him from inside. He didn't show up for 7th period or after school. His backpack was still in the classroom. Jamie stayed late, watching. From the hallway across from the cafeteria, at 3:22 p.m., long after the last bell, Zach walked in, alone. No backpack, no books, no expression. The cafeteria lights were dimmed to half. The janitor hadn't gotten there yet. The place looked abandoned. Zach walked to the fridge, opened it. Nothing inside. Still, he stood there for a moment, then turned, walked toward the west wall, the table, and vanished behind. The kitchen door, it didn't even swing open. He was just gone. The next day, the school made an announcement. Zach was out sick. No timeline, no details. But Jamie knew better. She checked the attendance. System Zach's name was gone. She checked the class roster. No one named Zach. Checked her phone. No texts, no saved pictures. His locker, empty like it had always been. That day at lunch, the milk fridge was full again. Jamie stood in line, counted the rows. Her breath caught. There it was, middle shelf. Bottom left, white, dented. No label, waiting. Warm to the touch. She didn't take it. not even close. But she saw someone else eyeing it, a fresh man, head down, earbuds in. Jamie grabbed his wrist just in time. He blinked at her, confused. "Don't," she said. "Just trust me." He didn't understand, but he nodded, and the milk stayed where it was, unclaimed, but not forgotten, because Jamie knew it was never about the milk. It was about the invitation, and some people, they said yes without ever realizing they'd agreed. Part 5. The Chair at 12:17 p.m. from the series 7 Rules in the Cafeteria, Break 1. And it finds you. There's something about dares that pulls people in, even when it's stupid. Even when the rules say not to. Especially then. That's what Jamie realized as she watched the lunchtime crowd buzz like bees around a single target. Row A, more specifically. The third chair in row A. The chair with the loose leg. The one nobody ever sat in, not because it was broken, but because rule number 2 said, do not sit in the third seat of row A at exactly 12:17 p.m. It was just too specific to ignore, and too tempting for someone like Kyle Mathers. Kyle was the kind of guy who filmed TikToks in the locker room, wore sunglasses indoors, and had 30,000 followers who thought he was funnier than he actually was. So when Jamie saw him strutting across the cafeteria with a smug grin and his phone set to record, she already knew what was about to happen. He didn't announce it, just nodded to his friends, pointed at the chair, then mock saluted the plaque of rules on the wall. Rule number 2. Challenge accepted. Jamie sat 2 rows behind, her tray untouched. Her palms were damp, her appetite gone. A girl beside her whispered, "He's seriously doing it." Jamie didn't answer. She just watched the cafeteria clock tick closer. Las 12:15. Kyle spun around once, holding up his phone like he was about to capture a moment worth posting. "All right," he said to the camera. "For every ghost-hunting grandma out there, I'm sitting in the cursed chair. If I disappear, avenge me." Laughter. He dropped into the chair dramatically, legs wide, arms stretched over the table. Las 12:16. Someone tossed him a juice box, like it was popcorn before a movie. He caught it with a grin, took a long sip. "Still alive," he said, pointing to his chest. Then the clock ticked 12:17. Something changed, just subtly, like the air tightened, like the fluorescent lights dimmed. Though no one touched the switch, Kyle stopped chewing. His smile faded, but not out of fear, more like confusion. He blinked once, twice, and tilted his head, as if hearing something strange. His lips parted slightly. Then he said it, voice low, hollow. "It's already sitting next to me." Everyone went silent. For one horrible second, no one moved. Even the chatter died. Then Kyle blinked again, like waking from a trance. He stood up, dropped his juice box, and walked out of the cafeteria without a word. His phone remained on the table, screen cracked, recording nothing but the half-empty tray and the cursed chair. Jamie didn't see him the rest of the day. Neither did anyone else by last period. A strange buzz began in the air. Students whispering that Kyle hadn't gone to class, that his locker was left wide open, books scattered, like someone had gone through them in a hurry. Jamie checked Instagram. His profile still existed, but every post gone, the followers 0. His name was still there, but it was like staring at a ghost, account something half deleted, stuck between existing and not. After school, Jamie biked to Kyle's house. It wasn't far. His bedroom window always had those blue LED lights glowing, even during the day. Today, dark. She knocked once, then twice. No answer. Kyle's mum finally opened the door, tired eyes, a confused frown. "Can I help you? Is Kyle home?" She tilted her head. "Kyle," Jamie's voice cracked. "Your son, I don't. I think you've got the wrong house." Jamie's heart plummeted. "There's no Kyle here," the woman said. "Never has been." And she shut the door. That night, Jamie didn't sleep. She scrolled through her phone again and again, trying to find any trace of Kyle. Pictures, mentions, tags, comments, nothing. It was like he'd never existed, except in Jamie's memory. The next day at lunch, the third chair in row A was still there, empty. No one spoke of it, but Jamie could feel it. The air around that seat was colder, the way shadows clung to Itron. She avoided looking at the cafeteria clock because she knew something was still sitting there, waiting. And once you sit next to it, even just once, it knows your name, it knows where you live, and eventually, it makes sure no one else does. Part 6. The woman with the wrong uniform from the series. 7 rules in the cafeteria, break 1. And it finds you. You don't notice cafeteria workers until something about them feels off. Jamie had never really looked at the people behind the lunch counter before. They were just part of the background. Hairnets, plastic aprons, slow movements, the rhythmic clatter of trays and scoops. But that Thursday, everything felt wrong by the time she reached the middle of the line. The air smelled slightly different. Not bad, just like something from a forgotten time. A mix of old soap, mothballs, and scorched linen. The kind of scent that clung to sealed boxes in a grandmother's attic. And that's when Jamie saw her. She didn't belong, not because she was old, older than the other lunch ladies. Yes, but not ancient. It was the uniform. While the rest wore navy smocks with light blue hairnets and plastic gloves. This woman's uniform was a dusty olive green, like something from a 1960s hospital. Her sleeves were too long, her collar too starched. Her white shoes looked polished by hand. No name tag, just a silver rectangle where one might have been, scratched to the point of being unreadable. Jamie didn't remember seeing her the day before, and no one else seemed to notice that day. Rule number 5 came back to her like a whisper from the back of her brain. Do not take food from someone in a uniform that doesn't match the rest. Jamie froze. The woman in the wrong uniform was doling out mashed potatoes. Quietly, slowly. Her hands moved with delicate precision, almost like she was painting the food onto each tray instead of scooping it. Jamie shifted lines, heart thudding, and took her tray from a different staff member. But the kid behind her, DIDN, single quotes, T. Trevor, Hines, tall, cocky, impossible to miss. He joked with the workers, tossed his hair back like a shampoo commercial, and once ate a pepper packet on a dare. He took the tray from her. Mashed potatoes, gravy, meatloaf. Normal, except he hesitated for a split second as their hands touched, and the woman in the green uniform smiled, a tiny, tight-lipped smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Jamie watched him from across the cafeteria that day. He ate normally, laughed even, but after lunch, things shifted. Trevor didn't sit in his usual seat in 4th period. Instead, he chose the far back corner, away from the windows. He didn't joke, didn't talk. He stared at his desk. By 5th period, he was mumbling, whispering, really. Not in conversation, just whispering. To no one, to shadows, _ by Monday. Trevor was no longer speaking at all. He didn't answer roll call, didn't raise his hand, just stared at his hands as if they no longer belonged to him. By Wednesday, he was gone. The school said he transferred, but no one could remember which class he was in. Yearbook. Staff couldn't find his photo. Jamie checked her phone for a video she'd taken last week. Trevor doing cartwheels outside gym class. Gone. Not deleted. Just like it was never taken. Only Jamie remembered him, and even that felt slippery, like holding water in her hands. The worst part, she started seeing him again, not in person, in reflections. The side of a microwave door, a puddle on the sidewalk, a bus window just behind her, watching, silent, pale, lips moving with words she couldn't hear. Every time she turned, he was gone. Underscore that night. She dreamed of the cafeteria empty except for the green uniformed woman standing perfectly still behind the food counter, her face blank, her eyes locked on Jamie. When Jamie tried to run, the woman whispered, "You took the wrong tray." Jamie woke up screaming. The next day, she didn't eat, not a bite, just stared at the lunch line from her seat, and there she was again, the woman in green, standing calmly behind the other workers, ladling mashed potatoes. But this time, something was different. No one else saw her. The students in line took trays from her, without blinking. The other staff worked around her like she wasn't there. Jamie bit her lip until it bled, because now she understood. Rule number 5 didn't just mean avoiding her food, it meant don't acknowledge her at all. Too late, Jamie had looked her in the eyes. She'd remembered, and now he was watching her through every reflective surface, slowly creeping closer. One day, she knew he wouldn't be behind the glass anymore. He'd be in the room, waiting with a tray of mashed potatoes, smiling. Part 7. The camera glitch at 12:30 from the series 7 Rules in the Cafeteria, Break 1. And it finds you. The cafeteria smelled like stale bread and secrets. Jamie had stopped eating there weeks ago. Most of her friends had, too what few were left, those who hadn't vanished, forgotten, or become quiet, but they still sat near it, still watched, because something was wrong with the lunchroom at Clearwater High. And it wasn't just the rules at first. They noticed it by accident. One of Jamie's closest remaining friends had a father who worked IT for the district. She'd borrowed his admin login on a whim, thinking maybe they could watch footage and spot a pattern. What they found wasn't a pattern, it was a gap every day. At exactly 12:30 p.m., all 6 cafeteria cameras glitched out all at once for exactly 2 minutes. Static. Nothing else. Same timestamp. Same duration. No one at school seemed to know why or care. But Jamie and Emma cared. Too many things happened at 12:30. Too many people changed. They watched footage from last week's Tuesday. Same thing. Clean hallway. Kids lining up for milk. Then static. Emma froze the frame right before the disruption. "I swear, something moves right there," she whispered, tapping the edge of the screen near the vending machine. Jamie leaned closer. It took scrubbing, frame by frame, pixel by pixel. But there it was. A black shape, thin, wrong, like a coiled, jointless arm or a snake made of smoke unfolding from behind the vending machine just before the feed cut out. It wasn't just shadow, it moved, and it was coming out. Emma gasped then. She dropped her lunch tray on the floor. It clattered loudly, even in the empty tech lab. Jamie spun around. Emma had gone pale. "What?" she asked. Emma's eyes darted left. She shook her head. "I just thought I heard breathing." "In here?" "No, from the tray." Jamie frowned. "The tray," Emma nodded slowly, "like it was really close, right by my ear." From that moment on, Emma couldn't eat, not without hearing it. She tried to ignore it, chalk it up to nerves or suggestion. But every time she lifted a spoon, unwrapped a sandwich, or even opened a bag of chips, she heard breathing, shallow, wet, like something exhaling against plastic. Eventually, she started skipping meals. Jamie watched her lose weight. Her eyes grew ringed with purple. She flinched when vending machines hissed. She began wearing headphones everywhere, even in class, and still, she heard it. That Friday, Jamie brought a different friend Dave into the plan. They decided to try something new, watch the camera live at 12:28. They were in the control room, huddled over the feed, sweat slicking Jamie's palms. The screen flickered once, then again. 12 hours, 29 minutes, and 47 seconds. "I don't see anything," Ava whispered. And then there it was again. From behind the vending machine, the same black shape. Sliding, unfolding, sniffing the air like it could sense something missing. But this time, it wasn't just a slither. It stood, not a snake, a figure. Thin, long, with arms that bent the wrong way. Legs, too many or too few. Impossible to count, and right before the static hit, its head turned, right toward the camera. Jamie's stomach dropped. It didn't have a face, just creases where one might have been, as if it had tried to copy human features once, but forgot the details. Then the feed went to static. They screamed, loud enough to draw the janitor. It was not the same janitor Jamie knew. This one was new. His badge read McFadden. His eyes were too still, and when he saw the screen, he didn't ask what happened. He just said, "It's not your job to look at that," and powered the system off. Jamie didn't sleep that night. The next day, Ava didn't come to school. Her locker was open. Empty. Her attendance status changed to withdrawn. Only Emma remembered her, but Jamie didn't see Ava's face again until 2 days later, in the reflection of the cafeteria. Freezer door, mouth open, eyes wide, as if she was screaming underwater. Now, Jamie eats lunch alone, at a table where no one sits. Her back against the wall, she doesn't talk. She watches the vending machine, and she waits for 12:30, because whatever's behind that machine, it's learning who watches it, and it's getting closer. Part 8. The one who wrote the rules from the series. 7 rules in the cafeteria, break 1. And it finds you. There was something off about the way the dust settled in the library's archive room. It didn't float like usual dust. No, it clung to the corners, draped over the shelves like cobwebbed curtains. Jamie brushed it aside with a cough, her flashlight beam dancing across rows of aging yearbooks, forgotten binders, and manila folders with faded labels. She wasn't supposed to be here, not officially. The archive room was off limits to students, but she needed answers. Real ones, because the plaque in the cafeteria, the one with the 7 rules, it was no joke. It started with Rachel, then Connor, then the boy who drank the unmarked milk, whose name everyone else somehow forgot. Jamie hadn't. She remembered all of them, and she had a feeling that whatever was hiding behind those rules, whatever fed when one was broken, wanted her to forget too. She moved slowly, reading the spines. Clearwater High Student Disciplinary Reports 1981 to 1982. Her hand froze. That year again, 1982, had come up before in a school board memo she'd found online. Marked confidential, but laughably easy to access with a few password guesses and a lot of coffee. That year had more cafeteria incidents than any other. Fires, fainting, disappearances. She pulled the binder from the shelf, and a thin, leather-bound journal fell out from behind it, landing at her feet with a thud muffled by the dust. Jamie stared on the front. A name etched faintly in ink, Connor Hales. She sat down, cross-legged on the cold floor, back pressed to the shelving unit, and opened the first page. September 14th, 1981. No one listens, no one cares, but I'm going to write it all down, because I think it's learning, and it knows when you speak its name. The entries were erratic, some a few words, others pages long. Descriptions of events that mirrored the rules now posted in the cafeteria. Decades later, one entry described a student who looked through the kitchen curtain, saw something staring back, and didn't speak again. Another described a girl who sat at the wrong table and screamed about fingernails pulling at her ankles. Jamie felt sick reading it. Every incident ended the same way, with a new rule. But then came the final entry. Just a few lines, no date. The handwriting shakier. If you're reading this, you're next. It doesn't live here, it waits. It mimics the routines, the food, the bells, the people, but it's always hungry, and when we forget the rules, it feeds. It always feeds. Jamie's hands trembled. She flipped back to the beginning. The earliest entries described the cafeteria as it once was. Same layout, same furniture, but one key difference. There had never been a vending machine near the west wall, not in 1981. That space had been empty, reserved, and yet now, that was where Jamie had seen the black slithering shape in the corrupted footage. A sudden chill ran down her spine. She stood and aimed her flashlight at the far wall, brushing aside more folders until she found a class photo, Clearwater High class, of 1982, rows of smiling teens in bell-bottom, jeans and pastel shirts, names listed below, no Connor Hales. She flipped through other records, attendance logs, detention slips, yearbooks, nothing. It was as if the boy never existed, except for the journal. She turned the photo over and gasped. A grainy image had been taped to the back. An old black and white photo of the cafeteria. Everything looked normal, except in the corner, a table, one chair, and next to it, a shadow. But no one casting it, no face, no body, just a shape. Distorted, leaning toward the chair. Jamie stared at it for a long time, then closed the journal, tucked it under her arm, and stepped into the hallway. Something had changed. The hum of the school felt off, not absent, but wrong, like a radio tuned just barely to the right station. The lights flickered as she passed. Her sneakers squeaked against the linoleum floor, louder than usual, echoing in a space that now felt too large for just her. She reached her locker and tried to shove the journal in. It didn't fit, so she carried it all the way home, clutching it like a lifeline that night. She couldn't sleep, not with the journal under her pillow. It pulsed with memory, like it wanted to be read again. She slid it out and flipped to a page she hadn't noticed before, one that had no words, just a sketch. It was her, sitting in the cafeteria, looking over her shoulder and standing behind her. The woman with the wrong uniform, face pale, smile empty. Jamie slammed the journal shut, and shoved it deep into her closet. But even with the door closed, she felt it. The gaze, the watching, the... Next morning, the school was colder than usual. The cafeteria clock was stopped at exactly 12:17. Jamie didn't eat that day, and neither did the shadow in the corner. Part 9. The marked lunch trays from the series 7 Rules in the Cafeteria, Break 1. And it finds you. Jamie never used to flip her lunch tray over. It wasn't something people did at Clearwater High. Lunch was a chore, not a ritual. You grabbed whatever lukewarm pile of starch they offered that day, found the least sticky table, and got through it while counting down the minutes to freedom. But that Tuesday felt tilted. She couldn't explain it. Really, the sun shone through the cafeteria windows like normal, overexposed rectangles of light that stretched across the floor like melting butter. The hum of students talking, laughing, chewing, slurping, it all happened as it should. But Jamie had grown sensitive to undercurrents, the quiet things, the misalignments no one else seemed to notice. So when she picked up her tray and felt something rough under her fingers, her stomach clenched not with hunger, but with something colder. She waited until she was seated at her usual spot near the end of row C, never row A, and certainly not the third chair, before she tilted her tray carefully in her lap, etched into the plastic, nearly invisible unless tilted just so under the light, were 3 numbers, 7 to 4. She blinked. It didn't look accidental. The numbers weren't scratched like vandalism, they were uniform, clean, almost stamped. "Is this new?" she whispered to no one, tracing them gently with her thumb across the table. Her friend Nora looked up from her mashed potatoes. "What is?" Jamie hesitated. "Nothing." But it wasn't nothing. That night, Jamie skipped her usual post-dinner doom scroll and dove back into the library archives. Not the online ones, the real ones, the ones that still smelled like mildew and bleach, and a time when kids actually used pens. She flipped through yearbooks, student council newsletters, old event flyers. It took her 3 hours to find it. A faded newspaper clipping, folded and creased so many times it looked like it had been through a war. The headline sent goosebumps up her arms. 12 students vanish. During lunch, Clearwater High in SHO Secodated, July 24th, 1997. Jamie's heart stopped. 7 to 4. It wasn't just a number. It was a date. She devoured the article. The students had allegedly gone through the lunch line like normal, ate like normal. Then, halfway through the lunch period, one by one, they began leaving their tables. Some left their trays, some took them, none returned. No one had seen them leave through the main exits. Security footage, what little existed back then, showed static during the precise time window. The cafeteria staff reported no disturbances. The school chalked it up to runaways. But that explanation never held. 12 students, on the same day. During the same meal, one grainy black and white photo accompanied the article. It showed the cafeteria, emptier than usual, with one focus point. A table in the far left corner, scratched, burned, and sitting on it, barely visible but unmistakable, was an unmarked milk carton. Jamie's mouth went dry. That table had always been avoided at Clearwater. Students called it the burnout table, assuming the damage was just leftover vandalism or some ancient fire code violation. Now she knew better. She turned back to her tray, still sitting on her desk. The numbers were gone. Her breath caught. She flipped it, checked again. Nothing, but she knew what she saw. The next day, she got lunch again, sat at a different table, made sure it wasn't near the west wall. Didn't take milk, just observed. No one seemed different. No panic, no vanishing. But when she turned her tray over again, her heart plummeted. This time, the tray read 812025. Today's date. She dropped the tray. Nora looked up again, annoyed. "Geez, Jamie, what's your deal?" Jamie didn't answer. Her eyes darted to the other trays. Students were eating mindlessly, chattering about algebra tests and who had a crush on who, none of them checking the bottoms of their trays. She walked between tables as casually as she could, pausing just long enough to tilt a few more trays upward when no one was looking. Each one had a date, different ones: 912-2004-105, 19873-142012, all familiar. Jamie knew those numbers. They matched all the disappearances she'd found in the school's disciplinary logs. Incidents always explained away, buried beneath bureaucracy. She had seen their names on missing student lists, had cross-checked the articles. Those weren't tray codes, they were feeding dates. She backed away slowly, hands trembling. Her tray was still on the floor. Today's date glared up at her, from underneath like a whisper that had found a voice. She didn't eat lunch, and for the rest of the day, she felt eyes on her. Not the kind you see, not classmates or teachers. Something else, something below. At home that night, she dreamed of the tray. It was floating, hovering in a pitch-black void. Then a pale, eyeless face rose behind it. Lips cracked, opening, whispering, "You've been chosen." She woke up, gasping. The image burned into her brain. The next morning, she considered skipping school, but something compelled her to go. She arrived at the cafeteria, early, empty, silent. She walked to the food counter and looked underneath. Rows of trays stacked neatly. She flipped one, tomorrow's date, another, the day after that, and then one at the very bottom, almost glowing with heat. No date, no scratches, just one word etched in jagged, almost living lines. UNOW. Jamie dropped it and backed away. When she turned around, the lights were off. The cafeteria clock was stuck. 12:17. She turned to run, but the door was no longer there. Part 10, Rule number 8 from the series. 7 rules in the cafeteria. Break 1, and it finds you, Jamie. Thought she had made it. It had been a week since she last flipped a tray, a week since she found the journal of Connor Hales, and a week since. The word now etched itself into plastic, like it had always been waiting. Since then, she had memorized the 7 rules, not just as guidelines, but like prayers. She walked the cafeteria like a minefield, never sat in row A, never looked through the kitchen curtain, never ate the unmarked milk, never leaned on the scorched table near the west wall. She was careful, meticulous. Maybe that's what lulled her that Tuesday. The sun filtered through the windows in dusty beams, and the smell of overcooked chicken. Nuggets filled the air. Students laughed. Forks scraped against trays. It felt normal, almost enough to believe that the haunting sequence of events was over. Maybe it really had been some kind of group hysteria, a shared delusion. Jamie even smiled when Nora waved her over, her friend's voice. Her presence after so many had vanished was comforting, grounding. Maybe, just maybe, it was all behind her. She was chewing the edge of a cold tater tot when she noticed it. The plaque, the one on the back wall, the original list of 7 rules. She'd walked by it 100 times now. A silent sentry posted above the mop sink. But this time, it was crooked, tilted just slightly off its perfect alignment, just enough to catch the light at a strange angle. Her fingers itched. She tried to ignore it. Then the lights flickered just once. A soft hum, a small dip in brightness. No one else seemed to notice, but Jamie stood, drawn true walk to the wall slowly. The sound of the cafeteria fading like a radio station losing signal. She reached up, heart thudding against her ribs, and grasped the edge of the plaque. It didn't resist. It turned easily in her hands, and on the back, etched beneath layers of flaked grey paint, written in faint, jagged letters like claw marks, was a line she'd never seen before. Rule number 8. Never think you're safe. Jamie stared. She didn't breathe. The cafeteria lights flickered again, this time harder, brighter, then dimmer. Then dash gone. The hum vanished, and the silence came, complete, pressing silence, like the building itself had inhaled and forgotten how to exhale. Then dash, clangther. Doors sealed all at once. The cafeteria exit slammed shut behind her, with a metallic finality that sent vibrations through the floor. Students, gone. Trays, gone. Sound, gone. Jamie stood in the middle of the cafeteria alone, the plaque still in her trembling hands, and felt the floor beneath her grow cold. Then came the tapping, tap, 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 soft, deliberate, like long fingernails on glass. She turned behind. The serving window where the trays and hairnet-laced lunch ladies should be. Something moved, a shape, a silhouette tall and wrong. Its joints were too long, its arms too thin. The curtain over the window shifted slightly, then dropped completely, and through the mesh of its folds, Jamie saw it, a face, or what might have been one. It was pale, paper white and too smooth, like skin that had never belonged to anything alive. The eyes weren't eyes. There were impressions, shadows of where eyes should have been, stretched too wide. The mouth didn't move, but the sound came anyway. A voice from everywhere and nowhere, low, scratchy, as though it had traveled through generations of throat mouths. It said, "Jamie." She dropped the plaque. It hit the floor with a clang that echoed far too long. "Jamie," it said again. Closer this time. She turned to run, but the exits were gone, not blocked, just not there. The walls now stretched impossibly, like the cafeteria had been refolded into something older, more primal. The tables were still there, but warped, bent inward, like they were being sucked into a vortex only she could feel. Every chair was occupied but by shadows, outlines, faint smudges of people who used to be there. Then she saw the trays. Each table had one. Every tray had a number, and every number had today's date, except one. The tray in front of her, sitting at her usual seat, it didn't have a number, just one word, carved deep, almost glowing. Wayushi backed away. The tapping grew louder, closer from the ceiling now, then beneath her, then behind her. She turned and saw it. Not all of it, just enough, a limb, an arm, or something like one. Long, segmented, covered in cracked skin that hissed slightly when it moved. It reached for her shoulder, but just before it touched her, she screamed, and the lights returned. Just like that, the cafeteria was back. Students, sounds, smells, but everyone froze as Jamie stood alone in the middle of the lunchroom. Hair, wild, plaque on the ground, her mouth slightly open. A few kids laughed nervously. A janitor poked his head in, confused. Jamie blinked. Nora was gone. Jamie ran to her table. Empty. She checked the attendance app. Nora's name wasn't there. She checked her phone, no messages. She checked the plaque again. There were 8 rules now, and the last one, still wet, as if written in fresh ink. Read rule number 9. If you know all the rules, it already knows your name.
Hello everyone, I'm Ceoz Stories. Thank you for staying with me until the very last moment. If that story gave you chills, made you jump, or simply kept your eyes glued to the screen, don't hesitate to hit the like button to support the channel. Share this video with friends who enjoy these sensations too, and don't forget to leave a comment with your thoughts, or even share strange things you've personally experienced, because I'd love to immerse myself in your stories as well. If you're eager to keep exploring untold mysteries, shadows that remain nameless, then subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. A new door will open every day. Are you ready for the next story?